This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Head on over to skl.sh/polyphonic23 and you can get 2 months free and start learning today. This is a project talking about artists that defined the 2010s, so it probably seems a little strange to start it out with David Bowie. Bowie got his start in the 60s and released albums in 6 decades across his career. But David Bowie impacted each and every decade that he made music in. And the last phases of that illustrious career saw him continue to redefine himself and to tread new artistic ground. More than just that though, David Bowie in the 2010s came to represent something greater than himself. He came to represent the last chapter in the story of the mythic rock gods of old. When Bowie died in 2016, it was a harbinger of things to come. The very same year Bowie passed, we would lose Glenn Frey, Keith Emerson, Greg Lake, Merle Haggard, Prince, and Leonard Cohen. 2016 became famous for this, but the entire 2010s were racked with the loss of musical titans. We lost Tom Petty, we lost Lemmy, we lost Aretha Franklin, we lost Lou Reed. At the time of this script, the most recent to go was Rick Ocasek. The generation that revolutionized rock and roll is coming to their last days. And Bowie's role in the 2010s is representative of these final acts. But before Bowie wrote his own epigraph with Blackstar, he started the decade with another late career smash, The Next Day. In the early 2010s, Bowie had faded far from the spotlight. He hadn't released an album in nearly a decade, and public appearances outside of touring were pretty rare. Then, out of nowhere on January 8th, 2013, Bowie's 66th birthday, he came out and announced his 24th studio album. A few months later, The Next Day dropped to critical acclaim. People called it the best album Bowie had released in decades. Some even said he hadn't had a release this quality since he opened the 80s with Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. If you want to know what it is about the album that made it such a success, look no further than the artwork. Designed by Jonathan Barnbrook, the artwork of The Next Day matches the thesis statement of the album. In order to innovate when you're an artist of Bowie's stature, when you're among the pantheon of rock gods, you need to embrace the past, but be just as willing to deface it. By plastering a white square over one of Bowie's most iconic artworks, Barnbrook and Bowie were making a statement. They weren't ignoring the prolific career Bowie had had, but they weren't trying to recapture that nostalgia either. Barnbrook explained the relevance of using heroes in particular. He said, "If you're gonna subvert an album by David Bowie, there are many to choose from, but this is one of his most revered. It had to be an image that would really jar if it were subverted in some way, and we thought heroes would work best on all counts." The music of The Next Day also conjures up Bowie's career. It's rife with tracks that call to mind different moments in his strange and varied life. It reflects on the times that have been, but doesn't try to stew in them or recapture them. Where Are We Now is a song that talks about the fall of the Berlin Wall and asks where society has come since that moment.
20,000 people, crossbars and Booker.
Of course, Bowie's ties to the city of Berlin are well documented, and the title track of Heroes is about lovers divided by the Berlin Wall. Then we have Valentine's Day, a song that sounds like it could have been plucked from Bowie's glam rock Ziggy Stardust days. That's followed up by If You Can See Me, a radical, twisted song full of 80s synthesizers and jazz rhythms that project forward to the last moments of Bowie's career. This ethos carries over to the videos too. The Stars Are Out Tonight sees David Bowie stalked by figures that could clearly represent his younger rock star days. The title track of The Next Day is the most defining moment of the album. Musically, it's aggressive and groovy. It feels like it could play fine next to Breaking Glass from Low. And lyrically, the song is written from the perspective of someone who has been chased and left to die by a mob, a clear metaphor for the pressures of stardom.
They're whipping through the streets and alleys there.
In the late stages of his career, Bowie simultaneously felt pursued by the media, but also left to die and be forgotten by the world. But the chorus stands defiant, unwilling to die, unwilling to be defined by the crowd's perception of him, unwilling to fade away into memory.
Here I am, not quite dying, my body left to rot in a hollow tree.
But of course, that brings us to the other half of Bowie's 2010 output. David Bowie had lived a mythical life, so it was only natural that his death was mythical. While fighting liver cancer and coming face to face with his own mortality, Bowie created Blackstar. And let's be honest, if you've watched much of my channel, you know my feelings on Blackstar. I think it was one of the most incredible artistic feats of this past decade. But the album wasn't just Bowie self-eulogizing. It was Bowie writing a preemptive eulogy for all of the great rock stars. He even uses the symbol of the star and talks about fame throughout the album. The title track demonstrates this with messianic imagery, something even more present in the video.
Something happened on the day he died. Spirit rose a meter.
That song reflects on how all of the greats must pass away eventually, but it also gives hope for the future of art. New artists stepping forth and taking the mantle of
Somebody
star.
else took his place and bravely cried, I'm a black star, I'm a black star. How many times?
Bowie gives his climactic farewell in Lazarus, but then the second half of the album is a set of harrowing goodbyes. Dollar Days talks of final desperate days. It's Bowie wishing to relive the heights of his career once more. He wishes he could pull one over on everybody one more time, surprise the tabloids and the press, keep creating great, world-changing art.
I'm dying to push their backs against the grain and fool them all again and again.
But he doesn't know if he's going to be able to do it. He's not sure he'll make it to the green pastures he can see on the other side.
If I never see the English evergreens I'm running to, it's nothing to me.
You could even read the lyrics to have Bowie literally admit he's dying.
I'm trying to, I'm dying to.
And the final song of David Bowie's final studio album tells one last story of a dying rock star. I Can't Give Everything Away. This song opens on a reference to an earlier stage in his career. It references a new career in a new town from Bowie's 1977 album Low. That was the first of Bowie's Berlin trilogy, one of the most drastic, artistic, and personal shifts of his life. Just as moving to Berlin was the start of a new chapter, so too is his death. In the song's last tragic cry, Bowie says he can't give everything away.
I can't give everything.
Rock stars give so much away. Their lives are on a public stage. Their most intimate moments are put into song and spread across the globe. But Bowie, and all of those that passed this decade, took some piece of themselves to the grave. Some personal story, some scrambled idea, some unfinished song. They can't give everything away, and they didn't give everything away. David Bowie put his stamp on each decade of his career. Blackstar and his subsequent death was how he shaped the 2010s. Bowie narrated the last chapter of the rock god myth. He was one of the best and brightest of a generation that are now reaching the end of their days. And perhaps most of all, Bowie's willingness to reflect and build on the past spoke to a decade about nostalgia, about respecting the greats of the past and trying to channel them to shape our future. If you want to shape your own future, one of the first things you're going to need to do is get your time in order. That's why you should check out Thomas Frank's Productivity Masterclass on Skillshare. That course will teach you to create a clean and simple productivity system that allows you to make the most out of your time and to chase the goals that you want. Once you've got your system down, you can use Skillshare to learn all kinds of different skills, from cooking to music production, from finance to graphic design. One course that I'm going to recommend is Creative Nonfiction, Writing Truth with Style by Susan Orlean. As someone who does a lot of writing, I've always been fascinated with creative nonfiction, and it was really cool to see tips from an expert in the field. Orlean is a staff writer for The New Yorker, and in less than 2 hours, she gives you some of the key tools you need to write your own creative nonfiction. If you want to check it out, you can get unlimited access to thousands of courses free for 2 months by going to skl.sh/polyphonic23. And even if the courses I've recommended don't pique your interest, there's such a wide selection of courses that you're bound to find something you like. So again, if you head over to skl.sh/polyphonic23, you can try it all out absolutely free for 2 months. And once you're done your trial, Skillshare is just less than $10 a month. So head on over to Skillshare and give it a shot today. Not only will you be able to learn something new, but following the link really helps my channel and it helps me keep making videos.